It's a sad box. It's a soap box. It's fan box.
And welcome. This is our last episode for Agatha All Along. I am Tony. You know me from us being on here all of this time now. If you are listening on with podcasts, thank you so much for doing so. Thank you for the amazing numbers that you have allowed us to have for this podcast. And I promise you, we will be doing more down the road. So please stay tuned because I feel like there's a need for us to just talk and geek out about Marvel. And I promise you, this time, as much as we're going to gush, I know there are going to be some differing opinions. And so for that, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my panel of guests in no certain order. I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves, tell us where we can find them, and then we'll go to the next. So first off, we're going to have Shay. Shay, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Hey guys, I'm Shay Jones, and you can find me at A Spoonful of Shay on TikTok and Instagram.
All right. And then along with Shay, we've also got Juan. Juan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Juan Reads Comics, and you can find me everywhere. But thank you for having me back again.
Absolutely. Along with Shay and with Juan, I'm not going to say everybody's names because it's going to get too tedious. Sarah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm at Movies and Tea across all social platforms.
All right. And then, of course, David.
Hi, I am Xanatos1138 on all socials, mostly TikTok, though.
All right. And, of course, Tony Ann, go.
Hi, my name is Tony Ann, and you can find me on TikTok at Scarlet Bruja or on Instagram as The Scarlet Bruja. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And last and certainly not least, new to us being on here together, Nico. Nico, go ahead and introduce us and tell where we can find you. And I promise I'm not going to keep it at the bottom like that the whole time.
Hello, I'm Nico Skywalker. Nico.Skywalker on TikTok, Skywalking Nico on Instagram.
And of course, with that, there's a lot of Marvel, a lot of Star Wars, but mostly Doctor Who with Nico lately. So if you like Star Wars, his cosplay is strong, not just the Force. But guys, thank you for joining. Before we go ahead and get into anything spoilery, before we get into anything like talking about details, because I've got the slides for it. Let's go through and we'll kind of go in the same order that we just introduced everybody to. So if you remember where you were in that, if not, I'll I can point you out, but basically it's like this way, then down, then this way again, then down. So, and I think I mixed up girls, guys, like kind of just a nice little mix this time. Give us your overall opinion of just these two episodes, because at the end of our talk tonight, we're going to talk about as a whole, because I think there are some interesting opinions after these episodes of how it kind of makes people think about the whole show as a whole. So Shay, go ahead and hit us off.
I think there was so many incredible things that happened in these last two episodes, though part of me kind of wishes they switched the order of them. Because backtracking, which wasn't terrible, it was just like, we should have got this first. Also, I would have appreciated more of Rio and Agatha's love story personally. Mm-hmm. And how that kind of came to be leading up to Rio giving her more time with Nicholas. Mm-hmm. So that's just me. But overall, 10 out of 10. And Jen Kill, the woman that you are, you better. Okay, that thing was so powerful, and you just felt it. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, Juan.
I enjoyed watching both episodes. I did have some issues with some of it, I guess, because the show really did have me theorizing, and my theory just went straight out the window. Like you all were trying to tell me in the last one, like, no, it's because of this and that. Because this show just had me so excited for what's going to be coming forward with Marvel, because it really, I'm telling you, it's like phases 1 through 3 all over again for me with this show. So, but I did have my issues with it, but overall, I enjoyed it.
Okay. Tony Ann?
I would say I really enjoyed it, and then thinking about it, I'm like unsure how I feel about the final episode now. I liked it, but I don't know. Something about it made me feel like it was like not enough for me personally. But I loved seeing Agatha's past a lot, and I do love that they kept her basically as a villain. Like she didn't really have a redemption arc, basically still a villain, which I like because not every villain needs to be redeemed. So
David?
I loved both episodes pretty much equally. I did feel like the flashback was kind of placed in a weird spot, but it did work overall. And I was before this thinking if they do another Hex, but it's Billy, I might not like it. But then how it was executed, I actually really did enjoy. I feel like Catherine Hahn did not get enough time in all of those outfits throughout, like the time jumps.
Oh my goodness,
she
yes.
killed it, and I wanted more of that, and I wanted just I don't know. No, that was pretty much it.
Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I overall really liked it. Kind of like Shay though, but I felt like the last episode should have been episode 8. Episode 8 should have been episode 9. I'd also like posted earlier that I felt like maybe it should have just ended with episode 8, but I also like the idea of like reversing the two. But yeah, overall I think the ending was pretty okay, but everything else was great in comparison.
Sure. And Nico.
I enjoyed the last 2 episodes. I've really been enjoying the show so far. This was I don't want to say super satisfying ending, but it left me wanting more, but I also agree now that I'm thinking about it that the episodes would have been better switched. That presentation, I've been thinking like, yeah, I would have enjoyed and sat there and in the mysticism more. But I enjoyed the ending nonetheless.
Yeah. I personally feel like they were kind of stuck with doing the episodes the way that they did, because if they would have done episode 9 before 8, we would have had this. We already would have known that the road didn't exist, and there would have been that suspicion that Billy did make it. So I get where they went with it. I also think that one of the things that helps, and maybe Juan, like this will help, and Nico as well. I think the climax from episode 8, the reason why it feels so like lackluster when you get to the flashback and then you get to the point of where it ends off, is because it's really kind of an epilogue to the story at that point. Because we already know that this is basically the second in a trilogy, at least. And so we had WandaVision, and WandaVision, left us where we weren't sure. And then, of course, the success from WandaVision ensured that Agatha All Along worked. And of course, the great part about Agatha All Along was it didn't suffer from the rewrites that were necessary during the pandemic. And so they were able to kind of flesh things out. I think that really speaks well to like the meter of the episodes. I almost feel like they don't waste the episodes very often in this show. There's the time makes sense. Of course, mind you, the last 2 episodes had a lot to carry after the Lilia Cordero episode. Like, you can't get more emotionally attached at that point. Like, I was already on this moment of like, are we gonna get all of the? I mean, Alice sacrificed herself. Lilia, sacrificed herself. Are we gonna get more of this? And then it was almost like it just didn't seem like it was as jointed as those 2, but at the same time, it does make sense later on. And then, of course, we know we're going to get a promise of something more in the future with either with Vision Quest or with, I guess, Tommy Quest at this point. So we'll see how that goes. But all great opinions. And I think as we talk, maybe you guys might sway. And so one of the things I want you to think about is like where your thoughts are right now. And then after we all talk through things and explain, I would love for you to say if your opinion of the show, or at least the episodes, have changed you since we've talked or anything, because it's always nice to be able to talk with each other and see how things go. So let's go without further ado and without gilding the lilies. And let's get into the actual episode. And I promise you all who are watching this, we are not going to stay this small for long, because I'm going to do this. It just means that I have to remember to fix it when we go back to being big again. So we've saw a natural progression with these posters, which has been fantastic. And of course, we finally got to this room. And so let's go ahead and talk about the events of episode 8. And I know, Shay, you already mentioned this part, so I don't know if you want to go ahead and start us with this one, because this was really impactful, and I really enjoyed this part. So everybody, go.
I think you're muted.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Okay, I can't remember. Hello.
Yeah,
we
you're
got you.
good.
Cool. Okay, so I think for me, going through the scene and like her, I like couldn't figure out how a doctor was able to bind her because it wasn't a doctor. He paid. Funny enough, using a witch to bind another witch is its own separate conversation. But the fact that Agatha, in her white womanness, for her own benefit, to cheat the system as it is for her own benefit at no repercussions of what that would mean for somebody else, and to have this Black woman say, you hold nothing, you no longer have this power, I had to take a breath because we've like spent so many years of white people essentially telling us that we are lower than the dirt on the ground, and to now take back power is always just liberating to see for me, and really just sitting with it, because like you saw Agatha kind of like, let's joke, like say it like you mean it, but she started to get affected because it hurts to hear somebody tell you that you hold no power over them, because Agatha at one time was powerless, so she knows what that is. And then watching her being able to get her power back, and just that connecting moment for her was so beautiful. And I love Jennifer.
Absolutely.
I'm like super excited that like, and technically Agatha was right in the sense in one of the earlier episodes when she was asked like who survived of the other coven the last time, and she said 2. Well, Jennifer was left, so 2 of the coven, technically she was right.
So it was funny when I saw this episode. I was a little surprised that they did Agatha being the one that took the powers. I mean, it also kind of showed that Agatha really didn't have a care in the world when it came to anybody else, and we do know after the next episode why that was. But for them to be through this road, and of course, Jennifer and Agatha do not have a very good chemistry throughout this entire show. And for there to be something like that, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, you know, I think Agatha did know that she did this to her, because if you ever notice when Agatha like says something, she never really speaks the straight truth about anything. And so she's always trying to pass off like her responsibility on something. And so I think she knew at some point that this was going to come, because she even kind of like prodded Jennifer throughout, like, you know, about why she lost her powers and where her powers are not having powers. And it almost seemed like it was like a source of contention that Agatha knew all along, of course. No pun intended. So, anybody else? Oh, we're gonna be quiet tonight. I can already see it. So she immediately gets her powers. She gets her powers back. She feels that relief. You could see it was not just she has the magic back, but at the same time, it's also realizing like she understood where it came, what the binding was at that point. She was able to release herself immediately. She used the practical magic to do so. I love the fact that Billy, he studied so much. He knows what she's doing. And then all of a sudden, as she's relieved, she's gone. She's absolutely gone. And we have these two stuck together. Did anyone think that Billy, or that she was going to try to, okay, let's back up real quick. I kind of jumped the gun. We know that Rio and Agatha have a conversation. Billy is messing things up for Death. His existence is a problem, and she wants him. and she basically she makes a deal with Agatha that if she convinces Billy to give himself up, basically relinquish his life on his own, because death can't control him, then Agatha will be allowed to die of natural causes. Because I think up to the point of where this is, like, I don't think Agatha could die unless it's taken from her or she gives it up. And I think that's part of the curse, that she's allowed her life to prolong for as long as it was because she was afraid of seeing Nicholas. But did anybody like think she was going to go the opposite way of what she did in this scene of actually helping Billy?
I did.
For a second, I did. But then I thought about how she treated Billy like in the earlier episodes. And then after seeing the last episode, I'm like, oh, it makes sense why she wouldn't do that, because she sees Nicholas in him. So
I was slightly worried when she grabbed his head. That was about it.
Yeah, I was worried when she asked him to close his eyes. I was like, oh, she's gonna do something right now. But then
Right.
it was literally just like him. I don't even
Yeah.
know, like
finding a body.
finding a body, exactly. Yeah, but that was a little bit like, but then it was like gone immediately.
Yeah, I thought it was actually really interesting how she guided him to finding Tommy in those moments and then leading him to another body. Like, so in that sense, like, they went back to do that. So that means Tommy's been out there for 3 years now, unless it already happens now. And it was kind of weird. I think that was one of the weird things for me is did she help him go back in time at the moment where they disappeared, and then he took him and helped him guide him to a body? Or has Tommy been wandering for 3 years, like his soul, and Billy just helped him find a place? Like, that's I think the one question I have, because I'd be interested to see if there's like actually an age difference now between the two of them.
Well, I think the only age difference would be like if the bodies were like different ages, depending on like. But I think that was happening. Oh wait, I actually don't know. But I'm thinking about it more. But like, that's the first answer.
Right. I kind of also like the idea that death has a problem with them. Like this, it sounds like this could be an ongoing thing. Especially now that it's not just Billy, now it's both of them. And I know that death lets him go at the end because she gets Agatha. But there's got to be some type of repercussions for the two twins of the Maximoffs, or of Wanda, cheating death.
Yeah.
So yeah. We know that they get out. Agatha ends up basically going out of her basement because that's where that last trial was. And she argues for her powers. I'm going to skip to the slide because this is kind of disjointed. We know that Billy comes to her rescue. She was tied down, and he actually gave her some of his powers. And she didn't take them all. She didn't kill him because, of course, franchise power. But then, of course, going back to that previous slide, we know that there's the face-off with her and Death. Any thoughts here?
Just a quick aside. When Agatha says, "I'm going to get my purple back," I love that phrase came from Nikki. Like, a lot of her behaviors and phrasings actually came from her son, and I thought that was a really cool detail.
With this fight, I was like, well, she can't beat her. So I was like, so what are they fighting for? Because you can't beat Death. So I had a feeling I knew someone was going to have to sacrifice themselves in some way. And I knew it wasn't going to be Billy. So, but
I also thought it was interesting, like, in the midst of this fight, you had like cuts to people in Westview who were like, oh no, is this happening again?
They are so
I feel
tired.
So bad for them.
I know they're tired. They're like, these.
Not
They were like, I thought Wanda was gone. Now she got Spawn out here. Like,
Yeah, that one guy in the yard just like looking up like
He can never just water his plants in peace. There's always something crazy going on.
And imagine this. They've seen Billy in a similar costume at that Halloween when they were stuck in the hex. And they're seeing an adult version like, oh no. They probably knew exactly who he was.
And they're traumatized by his mom. I don't blame them. Listen.
I mean, on one hand,
Oh, we lost you. You're muted.
y'all had awesome clothes. Your mortgages seem to be paid off. You ain't have to pay no bills. I get it. I'm just saying. But also, I'm like, y'all just gonna let this man walk by y'all? Y'all not gonna say nothing? No words coming out?
Yeah. Like, you're not curious? You're not like,
He hops in his Subaru.
That was the best part. Doesn't fly away, just hops in the car.
The parallels with him and Wanda doing that.
What I find interesting about how Rio essentially looks at Billy is the fact that Nikki was also made from scratch. Essentially, he was created because she was with Rio at this time. That's what we know. So essentially, kind of they both created Nikki, but she also knew he couldn't like actually be here. But she gave her time, 6 years, right? So, and you love Nikki because you the way you talk about him, there's a true love you have for him. But Billy's the abomination. I'm connecting dots. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying.
No. Oh, I also thought it was interesting. Like Tony, you're talking about the parallels to Wanda and Billy. Touch on that real quick because that was something I wanted to bring up as well.
So when he first put his hood up, I was like triggered. I was like, oh, I remember this moment. I was like, he's about to fly away or something. But when he did that, when he was just like looking down, and then he goes in his car and just drives away, and I was like, first of all, you can fly. What are you doing? Why are you driving? Second, I was like, you act just like your mother, even though you don't want to call her your mother right now. Like, and I know they did that on purpose, but it was like, I loved how they kept it true to like Wanda's character and into Billy. Like Joe Locke did a phenomenal job, I think, of doing that. Like the very like somber, like regretful look, because now he has to live with the fact that he killed people. He didn't know he was, or he didn't know he was hurting them. So, because when he created the Witch's Road, he ended up killing a couple people. So, three, yeah.
But I will say this. Besides for Mrs. Davis, Mrs. Hart, besides for her, both Alice and Lilia essentially got what they wanted from the road.
Yeah.
Before their demise. True. So in a sense, I'm like the road did give them what they wanted.
Right. Which is Billy gave what they wanted because he created that damn road.
Right. And I'm gonna miss Alice because I think she's amazing.
I loved Alice.
And Lilia, I'm just like, I just really hope you can just live your time now. Because her entire episode had me going through it. I was just like, ma'am, you need peace. But I'm also just like, ma'am, you upside down. You couldn't flip this card back over to come back right side up.
Right? That is what I was saying. I was like, if Billy's in control, he could just real quick.
I'm like, you flipped it, so flip that mug back over and see if you can open this door. Like, they already did, so you have to go with them.
Yeah. So speaking on like his like the similarities, like I know at the beginning of like earlier on, he did not want to admit that he was the son of Wanda or Vision. But then we get into this costume, and I'm just going to touch on this. We get this explanation from the costume designer, and it is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. In the design, not only do they do the whole galaxy on the side, the print on the inside of the cape is Vision's cape print. On the outside of the cape is Wanda's styling, and then within that the markings down his arm were the runes that Wanda used to protect herself while she was going through, the battle with Agatha in WandaVision. Like, and of course we know the crown matches. Will, hello, thank you for joining us. Even though, oh, well, hold on, I gotta do this real quick because
That's a cool
It's
crown.
amazing. It's perfect timing.
Nice.
Hold on, yeah. Let's go back. Let's go away from this for a second because Will just needs to show off his.
Oh, can't hear you.
You're muted.
You are here. Nope, he's still muted. Unmute yourself, Will.
There, how's that?
There you
Yep.
go.
I was just saying last week, I'm sure you guys thought you should see me in a crown, right?
Yep. So Will was able to 3D print that.
Too much dickhead. Move. You're losing audience members left and right.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and get back to this. So yeah, this was beautiful and love the costume. We got a good view from Will's crown. But like just even the color of the burgundy, like the scarlet going up to the hood, it's just perfection. I think this is probably one of my favorite MCU costumes. Like again, this is also going with the MCU doing fantastic things, regardless of like how your perception of Deadpool and Wolverine continues as you watch it, or as long as it, will it age well? We don't know, but Wolverine's costume was fantastic in that movie. I think they're willing to go the lengths to do some really comic book accurate costumes. And I think this is just one of those times where the meshing of what we've already seen in the MCU with Wanda's crown and making it, Billy's Wiccan outfit is beautiful.
Yeah, I like how they combine like modern day clothing. Like it's not fully witchy, like not Agatha, well Agatha too, but like Wanda's, it's like he's got his pants, they're ripped jeans and like comfy shirt, but then like cape and crown is like where it gets all bougie. Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely an upgrade from his like distressed sweater throughout the series.
I was tired of seeing that thing.
Yeah,
I was like, bro, throw it away.
progressive.
I think at some point it was getting tired of going down the witch's road. Let's face it.
I want to be like, you
Witch's
created
Road
a whole
was, like,
road. Create a new sweater.
8
Please.
episodes, but he was gone for 24 hours. Like, sir, what do you mean?
Right.
It felt like it was longer than 24. Oh, but here's the thing. Honestly, if you think about it, this show does what every other MCU show has not been able to do, is do a whole lot in a short amount of time. Whereas, like, I'm going to go back to it. Moon Knight, they've got what they need to release the big bad god, and they're taking their time detouring through Egypt to do other stuff. And it's like, you know what? Let's go to the Field of Reeds and let's, take our time talking to the hanging out with the talking hippopotamus. And I mean, like they struggled with time frames, and I feel like we've accomplished a lot. It's like a one good long day of work with this show, and so I've appreciated that. And here's some more images of this. I love how there's also kind of hints of stuff that we've seen with Doctor Strange, especially with these ringlets and stuff like that. Like I absolutely want to see interactions with like either people in Kamar-Taj, or if it's going to be like Wong or Doctor Strange down the road. I feel like that's just necessary, especially since we know that like Doctor Strange and all of them are supposed to be keeping track of like magical or, potential threats. And I can't think of anything that's a more potential threat than a Maximoff.
Mhm.
I can. Doctor Strange.
Really? Well, that's like
I'm
that's
sorry.
the
He's a
same
menace.
concept. Listen,
Straight,
Doctor Strange is the Tony Stark in mysticism. I love
which is
Tony
why
Stark.
he is a menace. They are the same.
Yeah. Well, he's the hall
Yeah.
monitor, so
Yeah, well, he's not much of anything at this point yet. You know, Wong's still the Sorcerer Supreme, so we'll hopefully he'll be keeping track of stuff. But
Maybe
how can you be
starting
the
with
Sorcerer
Madison,
Supreme?
watching like Love Island. Okay.
I know, like Wong should be watching a whole lot less stuff with Madison and focusing more on watching Doctor Strange. Stephen Strange gets Wong to let him do some of the weirdest crap, and without even batting an eye. So, regardless,
Yes.
let's
Mother.
So good.
and practical effects.
Practical. Mm-hmm.
No, the practical sets, which is like I would love for like Marvel and MCU to continue doing going forward instead of just green screens, because they really do bring a certain like they what's the word? They really
Energy.
focus you into the space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like on a green screen, you kind of have to imagine, but like a practice cassette, you can actually feel that you're in it, and you can actually see that difference watching it as an audience member.
And what's really cool about that is if you go back and you look on and if you want to be having me like sending you tons of Agatha All Along stuff, I can. Some of you already know how that is. There have been even like videos going where it's like when they went on to the Witch's Road for the first time just to experience it, and just the awe of the set pieces. They wanted to get down and touch the leaves. They were looking at this, they're looking at that. And even specifically when we were talking about Rio or Aubrey Plaza as Death, that moment when she was talking with Agatha and she walks and just rips the set in half, like to walk out the torn wall. Like, first of all, I'm thinking now that's a fourth wall break.
Yeah.
But then on the second hand, like the just explaining that in the power of death, how she can just rip the fabric of reality and go where she wants. Amazing.
So
And
cool.
I just want to see so much more of her.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All roads lead to her, so we're not done.
And what was really fun, I was just thinking about this too. There's not a whole lot of like CGI blur in this show because there really wasn't much.
Yeah.
So like, you know, people can't talk about it being mid for, you know, they didn't pay the, you know, it's like they don't pay their CGI artists, but then of course then they don't pay them because they didn't have them. So either way, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Now the battle is over. Agatha's gone. We had the growth of, you know, all the different things. And if anybody wants to talk about that, they can. But I think the most fun part was coming back to the house and Billy realizing that everything that happened on the road was in his room and they had been throwing it in our face this entire time with all of the different stuff. And we thought he was researching this Witch's Road. He kind of was, except he was researching how to make the Witch's Road, basically.
What's even, I think, interesting to me about the Witch's Road itself is the fact that the Witch's Road, the song, is literally from mother to child. Like to its core, it's from mother to child. So also hearing Lorna's version, it is essentially its own protection spell, even if Agatha couldn't protect Nikki at that last moment.
Now, do we all agree that when Agatha says to him, "You and your mother have the same tell," it was the fact that they created a reality without really being aware of creating it or knowing how they did it, right?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm
tell.
Yeah.
I mean, and by the way, has anyone since the finale, I apologize again for missing things, but I guess that's the story of my life on these talks. But has anyone gone back? Because like literally I walked away from a rewatch with my wife, and I have rewatched the entire series since the finale, even before doing that with her. Has anyone gone back now and rewatched the whole thing and just be like, how the things that we see and the things that are revealed in these last two episodes totally reframe everything and takes Catherine Hahn's performance to a whole new level?
I think for me, it just make like even like not having gone back only because I went back to Lilia's because I just needed to. The whole conversation on time is like my favorite thing. But just thinking back on every single piece leading up to this reveal, and you're just like, y'all really told us in the first episode, and we were just like, no, it can't be the road. Agatha's never been on the road. Because the road is a scam. The road doesn't exist. It is literally a way.
The road doesn't exist. You're lying. Am I?
mean, the road exists if only to kill witches she blames for herself not being when she needed to protect Nikki. Like she said, I'm not a protection witch. I can't divine. I can't make potions. I can make illusions and twist minds, but I don't have the things I actually need to save you. And once he's taken, she takes it out on the witches she wished she had been.
Yeah, I like when she said that too, and I actually saw this on Twitter. Someone pointed out everything she listed was what would be in a coven. So if she had a coven of witches, they might have been able to help her with Nikki. But since she was a covenless witch, couldn't do it.
Well, have we confirmed? Like, I know she's got her purple and everything else, but when it comes down to it, Agatha does not really have a set like path as a witch as the rest of them do.
I thought it was communing with the dead. I thought that was hers.
That's what I thought, but except for I feel like I don't know. Maybe we'll get more information down the road when it comes with it. But I think part of her relationship with Rio or with Death at this point was the fact that she brings people to Rio, like she feeds Death. And if you go from the comic books, the whole thing was, the only reason why Death really gave Thanos the time of day was the fact that Thanos ushered people to death. And of course, Death gets power in the more bodies that she gets. And so I almost wonder if that's what the relationship was. And Agatha had no problem giving Death those things for the power that she had. But then the only reason why the relationship soured was the fact that they knew that Nicholas was not gonna last for them. She wasn't going to have him. Rio was going to have to take him at some point. And so that's what we got from it. But when you think about like Alice was a protection witch, and I love the fact when she's being taken by Death, and she's like, but I just got rid of my curse. I can do good. And she's like, but you're a protection witch. You died doing what you were meant to do. And like that thing. But what is Agatha's purpose? I mean, really, honestly.
Maybe to teach.
Yeah, I think I think because she wasn't taught, she was seen as evil by her mother and by their coven. They even tried to destroy her. And then the one person she tried to teach, her time ran out. She kept saying what she wanted, like what she truly wanted was more time.
Well, plus I think
her body might be in the ground, but as a ghost, she has all the time she needs.
Yeah, but I also think Agatha is just a completely unique type of witch, obviously, because her power is abnormal compared to every other witch's, and that's the reason why her mother, much in the same way a Puritan would view anything we do nowadays as an abomination and sin, her mother just viewed this as pure maliciousness and evil.
When it wasn't most likely inherently that. Like Agatha is who she is because her mother made her believe what she was evil. And eventually, if someone tells you enough times, you might start to become it.
Yep.
Because I wasn't taught different.
This is where like the show kind of lost me a little bit, because it kind of unanswers a question that it kind of got. It was talked about in the beginning of the show, I think in the first episode or the second, that she gave up her son to get the Darkhold. So now, now that we know that that's not how she obtained the Darkhold, how did she get the Darkhold? And that's just where it lost me. It's just like, okay, so we made this point to make that about the Darkhold, and then now it just lost me. It just lost me from there.
The only reason why that comment existed was because, well, it's twofold. One, obviously, it's another thing that helps Agatha be spaced away from other witches because, obviously she just seems to be anti-covenant, knows if she's around witches, she's going to drain them and kill them. So, it's kind of like someone in AA knows they can't have a drink, don't be around a coven. But storytelling-wise, thematically, that element was introduced almost as a distraction for us because, think about it, if you think that she has given up her child to get the Darkhold, it makes everything we see in the first 20 minutes of episode 9 that more impactful. She didn't do it for that. That's not the reason why she lost her son. And Rio even asked her, why do you let people believe this story? And it's twofold. One, it's probably because the truth hurts her too much. And two, it's another thing that helps keep her distant from other witches.
But it's also, if they knew the truth, it would make her look weak. I think one of the things that I think there's a perception here. One, the fact that she's a covenantless witch and she's lasted as long as she has makes other witches probably trust her more that she's been down this road, because it explains why she doesn't have a coven. Not everybody understood who the Salem Seven were. They didn't understand that her coven tried to kill her, and thus she took all their powers. Allowing them to think that she used Nicholas to get the Darkhold was a way to show that she didn't care about anyone, and don't ever think you can trust her or that you shouldn't be on guard with her. And the moment she keeps witches on edge and on guard with her is the moment that they're trigger happy to shoot her with their powers and her take them. So there's this idea, like, plus, could you imagine how many witches would have found out that she sacrificed her son for the Darkhold and they were hunting her to use their powers to kill her? And that's exactly what she would have wanted them to do. Like, Agatha's playing the long game with a lot of different things. She's running the snake oil. She's running the snake oil of her son, going and asking for help, and then she takes them and she goes in and she kills the witches. Then there's the lure of the witch's road. That once Nicholas is gone, she's using that story that has been passed around, because it wasn't Agatha just teaching about it. It was a little boy that had this, and then it just happened to be the little boy she sacrificed for the Darkhold. So these people are looking for her, and they don't understand that there is a ruse, and they're already on edge with her. So it makes perfect sense that whole thing. I mean, look what happened at the beginning of the show when they're down there. We exactly know what she was trying to do with all of them. It wasn't to get them to use their powers so that the doors would manifest. She always intended on stealing their powers. Now, how that was going to work with Jennifer, I have no idea, because of course, right. But if she was at least going to get, she was hoping to at least get Alice's. And if she got Alice's, that would be enough for her to get started. Maybe to jumpstart the motor. And then of course you think Lilia, maybe she didn't completely believe her or whatever else. We don't know, but she would have gotten something out of it. So that's just kind of my thoughts about the Darkhold part, because I think anything that could make you look, it's idea. I have met so many people in life that have tattoos and have piercings and everything else, and it's not because they're bad people, it's because it protects them from people hurting them. And so it's that same concept of like, I'm going to have a bad reputation. I'm going to use it, work it for me, because I don't want people to know that I could be vulnerable. Because the moment we find out that, she loved this kid and she lost this kid, we're going to have sympathy for her. And that's not what she wants.
By the way, that's an excellent point that's brought up, because in the long run, if Lilia hadn't given a list, it would have been a different assembled coven in the basement. I think Jen was just a calculated risk because she was on the list. And once she got blasted, what's this powerless witch going to be a risk for? And Sharon Davis, come on, not Mrs. Hart. She was also a calculated risk just to get at least the two that had a spark of power down there, because they were expecting to need an Earth Witch. And the Hart, Black Heart, Mrs. Hart all kind of clicked in Agatha's head. That's my take. Anyway.
True.
I could be wrong.
Good point.
This makes
'Cause
me
she
want
didn't think
to
they were gonna
rewatch
really-
WandaVision.
Right?
Same.
Because
Yeah.
if she the whole time, now I'm like, she definitely just wanted the Darkhold to get her son back. She sounds a lot like Wanda. They should hang out. I think they need to hang out.
They did hang out in the comics.
Oh yeah, so
Well,
I think we need to make that happen. They're just two struggling mothers. Like that's all
Well,
I
that's the
wanna do.
thing. Like Ghost Agatha like messes with Wanda a lot in the comics. So
Great.
like
Good.
this is going right. The moment I saw Ghost Agatha, I'm like, oh, we're going there. We're
Yeah.
absolutely going there. I love it. Now in the midst of this, again, we talked about we did not get enough of
So
these
good.
costumes.
Yeah.
So good.
Like
She looks so
absolutely
good.
chef's kiss, especially that one is giving the craft. And I was just like, whoever wrote that, you are a real one, because you know what we needed.
This is so good.
Oh, yeah.
I needed that.
Yeah, and I love seeing her through the generations, just really selling the witch's road and taking these witches on and doing the exact same thing we saw in episode 2 and getting to the point, where, it made perfect sense because, well, of course, once Billy, is running down the stairs and the door appears and everything else, it makes more sense.
Yes.
What I
But
think
speaking of outfits,
I love that also. Like, but also Mother Maiden Crone. It's right there in the lyrics. She is
Dude,
now the last part.
That is
Fabulous.
That's the other beautiful thing about this show when it comes to writing, implementation, and everything else. One, they put it all on Front Street the whole time for us. Once you see the end, you're like, oh, the breadcrumbs are just there throughout. They straight up tell us to our faces. The Witch's Road it's a con, it's a cult, it's a lie. All of it is right there for us. And Agatha's reactions throughout to what was going on. Like, because the minute those doors showed up, and she's like, oh, wow, he made this happen. So now really maybe since I didn't get these women to blast me and I got to get away from these Salem 7, I'm going to get to the end of this thing and get my reward because he manifested this happening. But I mean, seriously, from beginning to end, this show was so well written. From a storytelling perspective, they hit every beat. They give us everything right when we need it. And in the end, you can't be mad at them. It wasn't a Kaiser Soze so much as it was just a, it was all there. We gave it to you. How come you didn't see it? And let's face it, there are people on the internet that have been telling us the whole time this, that, and the other thing, because they're like, there it is. It's all right there. I love this show so much. It has such great rewatchability. I can tell you guys, I've gone to sleep to it every single night, wondering what episode I'm going to wake up to in the morning. It is just, it is the finest bit of Marvel entertainment, I think, that they have put out in a long damn time.
Will is
You know,
the
the only
ultimate
thing-
fan.
Oh, absolutely. I will say this though. I felt so stupid after the reveal. The amount of clues that they gave us that this was all Billy.
Mm-hmm.
He arrives, like the door appears shortly before he arrives because he's running down the stairs, and then the door appears, and then he's going in. The fact that every one of the trials was a different era, and the fact that the first trial, when they're in that like Stepford wives type house, you see Agatha trying to go for the door, and then she's like trying to find an exit, and she's like, because she's been in this. Do you think that there could possibly be some PTSD that she had just gotten out of a hex? And now she realized she's in another one. But I will say this: the difference between Billy's manifestation of the Witch's Road and Wanda, like she became reclusive, and she basically put herself in a bubble to protect herself off from the world and from reality. Whereas Billy took something that was fake and wasn't real and actually manifested it into something that was actually tangibly and permanently there until he closed it himself.
That's
And
crazy.
I loved that difference between the two.
if I can tell you, if you compare what happens in episode 3 with the beginning of episode 4, okay, Agatha is also reacting because she is fearful that the stakes are real in episode 3, and she confirms that at the beginning of episode 4 with, "I didn't think you had it in you." So in other words, he manifested something that is truly the road, and it is potentially lethal. That's why the moment things start getting serious, she's like, "I got to get the hell out of here."
Yeah. Now I guess she was talking to Billy. She wasn't talking to Sharon Davis at that point.
Mm-hmm. She was. Yeah, that's what she meant. I didn't think you had it in you.
Yeah. Okay, so what does everybody think about the let's talk about this image that's up here right now. What do we think about Ghost Agatha, and what do we think about the appearance change? Is it just a negative version of herself with the white hair and everything, or or do you think we'll sport this for a while? Because I know we're going to see her in the future.
I hope we
I
keep
got
this.
slammed. Oh, sorry. I got slammed on social media for saying I didn't like it. Then I took my video down.
Oh no!
Put it back up. Put it back up.
It was
No,
really
own
intense.
it.
I think I need to rephrase it.
I mean, I'm sorry. I saw it and I'm just like, "Oh, mommy," but that was me.
Yeah, I'm like,
Wow.
Yeah, Will was one of my commentaries.
With-
yeah.
With
was
the amount of
intense.
times that the shows have like the perfect costume at the end, and then their next appearance has a different costume that is worse, I don't know if we're going to see this look again in her next appearance.
I
Good
actually
point.
like it. I think she slays it.
Well,
I liked
let's
it.
face it. I feel like this outfit's better than her going back to like her old outfit with the dirty teeth and everything. Like, why'd they have to do that to her when she went back to like? You give her powers, and then she give her like 1800s like dirty teeth. Like, come on, like don't do that to her.
I also think it's a progression of Agatha, even in death.
Yeah, there's
Mhm.
like a resemblance of what she was wearing at the end, with the
Mhm.
cape, and
Yeah.
like I feel like I really hope the costume designer does a breakdown of this, because I'm sure there are like hidden details of all the time periods that we saw in the show, most likely in here. But yeah, I definitely see that as well.
Yeah, as to take the way that Billy says stuff in the show, it's like it's giving me like Agatha death and loving it. Like that's how I felt, because she seemed way too happy to be dead for
She's vibing.
I think
She's
she's
like,
happy not to
"Boo."
meet another hex. She's like, "When's the next one? You don't find your brother now? Is he gonna create
Yeah.
one?" Like,
The funniest thing is though, actually, because she's a ghost, she didn't have to go seek him out. She could have went anywhere she wanted to, and she made the decision. She chose to reveal herself to him.
I think
She
part
wants
of
to
it
see
though
it
is to really
through.
want to get the locket back.
yeah.
But she also really wanted him to know that he killed people. Like it wasn't completely noble. It's like she's like, you're gonna go.
Well-
He's gonna go home. He's gonna figure out that he created the hex. I need to be there for this. Like I need to create.
There.
See,
Yeah,
She
and-
turns
and-
around. See what you
And,
did?
and I have to say, did he really do that? Or did he just, because I always refer to it as manifestation, I probably shouldn't, but he created a reality based on a story that he researched and was told. So was it really his mind that did it, or was it just him implementing a spell that created, a hex that had the very realistic stakes? And at that point, is he truly responsible for it? I'm no apologist, but I'm just saying that every one of those people sought out the road and they knew the risks of what it supposedly was, and his hex made that a reality. In other words, I don't really blame him completely.
But that's the thing, though. If a Maximoff wants something bad enough, and they've got chaos magic coursing through their body,
Yep.
it's not going to be hard for them to manifest things. I think that's, and the part of it is they're more dangerous when they understand magic itself. I believe that's why in Multiverse of Madness, as much as I had misgivings about that movie, Wanda was a bigger threat because she knew stuff from the Darkhold. Now,
She's
she
been
was also
studying.
influenced by it.
Yeah.
She was studied. Billy has been studying for 3 years, and we know it's already longer than what Wanda had. And he's been studying magic. This boy is going to be a powerhouse, going into things. And so it would make sense if she's, she wants to keep him off kilter, but I also think she wants to see what he would do. Because I love Wanda. I love the Scarlet Witch. But did she ever take the time to like really make amends for what she did to Westview?
No.
No.
I mean, no.
That
she
girl,
didn't.
I love her more than anything. She fled.
Yeah.
She said, bye.
Yeah.
You're gonna
like,
live with
bye,
PTSD. Bye. Like, I'm
Bye.
gonna go study
And she even
book.
and even when they were begging her, she's like, I was helping you. She's like, no, you were helping
Yeah.
yourself. But
Wanda,
so
Maximoffs need a therapist, is what they really need.
I mean,
Which-
technically, she needed a therapist back in Age of Ultron.
yeah. Well, they could afford it back then. They can't afford it now.
Agatha
Yeah, that was
had
Tony
the,
Stark's budget.
No,
Agatha had the
but for
best
real, because
line.
like it was all Tony's fault.
True.
No.
See, all of it. Agatha, of course, had the best line, though, that really just applies to what Tony said, when she's like, it wouldn't be as dramatic if you weren't a
Yes.
Maximoff.
Yes.
Yep. That was golden. She, oh my God.
She's
I
like,
want her
even
to,
if
I
you're
want
not
to
in
see
the
her
same
interact
body.
with both of them, with Wanda and Billy at the same time. I want Agatha to be like, I had to deal with your ass, and then now you, like.
because they say she's gone, right?
Yeah, and they said
and they
purpose.
Yeah.
But being gone and being dead are two separate things.
I've been preaching this for years, and no one believed me. They all told me I was crazy.
Billy was gone.
Who?
Nobody is no proof.
Yeah,
Nobody is no
right.
proof.
And when at the end of Multiverse of Madness, I wasn't even worried. I was like, "That's just Red. She's gone. Don't worry about her."
Right, the little cloud after all the
I
rocks
never
fell.
believed it. People are like, "Your fave is dead," and I was like, "She's not though." But okay.
I just want her to come back and bing, like say, "Ding dong, the bitch is back." What you gonna do?
I would love that as her opening, just like walking back in, be like, you really thought I was gone."
Like, oh, both my sons.
And she walks into Agatha teaching Billy.
Because what I want to happen is like, I want Billy to find Tommy. Then I want Tommy and Billy to go get their parents. Because depending on whatever happens in Vision Quest, it's gonna lead.
I need to see Vision Quest.
It's gonna lead to both sons either finding their dad first or going for both of them at the same time.
I think since Billy was so like, that's not my mom, I think Tommy is going to be like, no, I miss my mom. Like, that's my mom. I want to find her.
They're going to put heads over that.
Yeah, especially
and then Billy's going to be like,
backstory.
no, she did all this crap. And Tommy's going to be like, that's my mom. I'm writing for her. We got to find her. Our dad is a
I want Tommy to be like, well, you also kill people when you didn't realize what you were doing. So are y'all are you so different? And kind of want Agatha to be in the background like, oh, he went there.
or is he just going to be mad that he's back, that Tommy or that Billy did what he did? Guys, I'm sorry to hang a question out there and dip, but like I said, I'm having a rewatch with my wife, and my daughter, my youngest, went to have a sleepover. So if I don't get back out there soon, that couch I'm watching on is going to be my bed. So I got to dip, but thanks for tolerating me again. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Great talking to you, Will.
Of course.
Bye.
I'm glad you're saying goodbye this time. Okay. So like he just dipped out last week and I was like, okay, he's gone. And if you guys didn't know, the reason why Will cut out and didn't come back last week is because his corgi grabbed the power cord and just jerked it out and killed his computer.
Corgi was like, "You're done."
So,
yeah.
So he was like, "I'm done with the monologues. Let's just get you out of here." So, the director of the show, for those of you who are listening, and don't know this, because let's face it, we are obsessive and we follow social media, not whether it's because it's we have a mental illness or it's just because we love interacting with people. I'm going to say mine's mental illness, everybody else is healthy. But it was specifically said, the director of the show had said that they were pushed really hard that they could only say gone when it came to Wanda Maximoff.
Yep.
And that is a big tell, because let's face it, when you ask an actor something, they're going to lie. I feel like when we get a statement like that, it's like, okay, it could mean death, but most likely they're keeping that door open because they know we all have been speculating it at that point. And if they don't want to do something with her, they won't. If they do, they're going to. And so I think of that as promising news when it comes to Wanda, because anything we can get that says Scarlet Witch may return is worth it.
I'd like to point out though, Rio also tried to get Agatha to say her name, and she couldn't. She's like, "Who is this body?" But couldn't come up with the name.
Yeah.
So Rio doesn't have her, because if Rio had her, she'd be bragging.
I feel like Rio doesn't even know where Wanda's at. That's why she said she's gone, because she does not know where that witch is. That's what I think. I think she's scared of these Maximoff. She's scared of Wanda and Billy.
These Maximoff.
Which also makes a good point. So when the neighbor who basically is like playing the other detective at the point, it basically says she's dead. That's why it was so important for Agatha to be like, or is she, and then winking, because in their mind, people in Westview are hoping that Wanda's dead, but that's not the case. So I
got to tell Elizabeth Olsen when I did a meet and greet, I really hope you get to do some more stuff with Marvel, and she goes, me too.
I love her.
Yeah, because it's a good paycheck. Let's face it.
I love that woman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's also, she really does care about Wanda as a character.
I also love that oh, sorry to interrupt. I also just love how Elizabeth Olsen as herself is able to cement herself outside of being an Olsen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Love it. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm like Mary-Kate and Ashley who?
I mean, hold on, not too much.
I loved Mary-Kate and Ashley as a kid, and then when I watched Age of Ultron, I was like, Olsen. I was like,
right,
is that the sister? And I was like, oh yeah, they look the exact same. Like, they look very similar. So
huge height difference, but the exact same.
Well, yeah, but I just meant the faces, just the faces. I saw some video today. It was like, someone asked if they ever thought about bringing Lizzie back for Wanda in Agatha All Along, and they were like, no, this is Agatha's story, and they're planning on doing whatever they're doing, but this is Agatha's story. And I was like, she's back. You guys should just say it now. Like, don't play with me anymore. I'm tired.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you gotta be careful though, because there's a lot of groups that are will speculate and will try to make it sound like things are happening when there's nothing been confirmed. But I have to say this: we get to this image of Agatha, and what does Billy do as soon as he has a ghost Agatha? He tries to get her.
What a match!
I loved that.
I loved it so much.
I love the fact that she didn't know what he was doing. Like he knew what he was doing.
And then he was
what are you doing?
I'm banishing you. Like, goodbye. You're leaving.
She's like, you're being funny. It's okay. And then she starts feeling it. She's like, wait a second, wait.
Yeah, when she tries to smack his hand, I was like,
I love those two. I'm excited to see them
funny.
if they're both in Vision Quest. I'm excited for that.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna say I have to leave as well because I have work tomorrow, but this was really fun.
All right. Bye, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. And we're gonna go quickly through the rest of this because I know everybody's we're gonna we have less people. We're gonna change our format again here. Give me just a second. That's much better.
I like
a little bit.
You can see my Magneto shirt.
Yes, Magneto is my favorite villain. That's not really a villain to me.
Yeet.
I would like to say what Tony said earlier, that how they kept Agatha a villain, essentially with no redemption arc. I think Agatha is a villain who is capable of doing good things.
Oh yeah.
I heard somebody say
distinction. And that's a huge distinction, personally.
Well, okay, let's say it this way, because I think this is where we come to when we use the term villain now. When we talk about MCU villains, we think of Ultron, who wants to destroy the world. We think of Red Skull, who wants to take over the world. We see Thanos, who wants to decimate half the universe. I think Agatha is not necessarily a villain. I think she's villainous. I think that's where it comes in. She's like a Maleficent. She's just a baddie who will play by the rules, and she will be an ally as long as it fits her own predetermined plans. And I think one of the reasons why she's willing to go help Billy find Tommy, because how much do you think it's going to really make Wanda mad when she like we said earlier, when we see her mentoring Billy and Tommy maybe down the road, and Wanda can't touch the spectral realm, supposedly. You know, you can't really touch me if I don't have a body. Maybe. But I could see her. She'll do the right thing for the wrong reasons, and I think that's what we're gonna get from her. And I'm here for it. I'm okay with that. So
yeah, she's not evil. She's just a little chaotic. Just a little.
She's a little crazy.
I'm here for it.
We're all crazy.
Oh yeah. Then we of course, you know, once they kind of come to terms with each other, I think one of my favorite things from this is him sealing the witch's road and then acknowledging the coven that we've lost. Like, I love that. I loved him being willing to do that. I loved seeing them etched into the ground, being reminded of who they lost, because I think that was a little bit of catharsis for Billy himself, knowing that something he created did kill. I don't think he's responsible for them. They knew what they were doing going for the road. I think he gave them a longer lease on life, because if it wasn't for him, there probably would have been issues. Plus, they would have had to deal with the Salem 7 a lot sooner when they did. With the exception of Sharon, poor Sharon just was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
The other two got something out of the road.
Party. I was so excited to be invited to a party.
And she was happy about doing laundry. Like, she was okay with just doing laundry. Like,
but I also think her death, in a sense, like, what she needed was to no longer be in Westview. Because also the hallucination, like, she was still very much suffering from.
But at the same time,
Wanda's hex, and also losing her husband.
Yeah, within the 3 years of being released from the hex, she lost Mr. Davis, and so maybe she did get what she wanted out of the road. You know, she's able to rest at that point. But then, of course, after this, we're going on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of excited about it. But we don't want to talk about this. Moment.
Yes.
So, does anybody know Jennifer Kale's story in the comics at all?
I know her cousin is.
Who's her cousin?
Ghost Rider.
Oh,
Johnny Blaze.
My bad.
I just learned that today, so I needed to expand that information. But I was like, oh, but I was excited that we're still getting more of her, because she was like my favorite one out of the coven.
The High Priestess.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what that means.
Poster of that art that they had of her, like, as like the tarot card. I want that, like, as a poster. Like, that was beautiful.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of, like, amazing fan art on this show from this. I loved it. So, Juan, I'm going to ask you first, because I think you had more of, and Sarah's gone at this point. I don't know if we were really persuasive in anything, but after us talking through some things, do you feel like there's some things that you're still hanging on to, or, you know, what are your thoughts? Do you have any questions or comments? Because I know you were, I think, a little bit more apprehensive. These last two episodes were they were maybe a little bit more lackluster than the rest of the series has been for you.
True. like I said at the top, I really enjoyed everything. And like Will said, this is probably some of the best writing that we've ever gotten out of Marvels for a long time. But these last two episodes, they gave us a lot of questions that were not answered. The Darkhold,
Mhm.
the relationship with Agatha and Rio death, like what happened there. There were just some things that I felt like they could have, like, hashed out before it was over. um
Mhm.
I don't know, it's just I just love the way the show started and how it was just like this train that was moving, then it just like went off the tracks, went off the rails for me. But after hearing everyone talk and giving me some insight and stuff, because I didn't really talk too much because I was going to be Mr. Negative. I was thinking about not even showing up because I didn't really like the last two
Oh,
episodes.
I wanted you to
Uh,
because of what you were saying online. So no, by all means.
yeah, I mean, it's just it didn't hit hard enough for me. But now after listening to you guys, and Will clarifying some things, I definitely got to go back and rewatch it again, because I do get that element and that aspect that when you go back, just like you said, Tony, that you look at every single episode when we start it over again in a different light because of the things that are given to us in the last two episodes, especially Billy
Mhm.
being the one that's created this whole thing in him, and that he didn't know that he was going through that. And I like the concept of, he is a Maximoff, so he basically made this whole thing. So I definitely want to go back and watch it again. But all the way up to episode 8, it could have ended with Lilia falling and me still feeling like she's going to come back to life, and we could have been done there. But I loved it. I loved all of it. But yeah, the last two episodes kind of threw a wrench in it for me because it kind of just like deviated because I don't know. It
Mhm.
was I don't know. It just didn't feel like it just landed. It stuck the landing for me. But again, I
Yeah.
gotta watch it again.
Yeah.
You guys are all
I think
unison saying how much you liked it, so I gotta go
well,
back in there and try it one more time.
I,
Let's give it a go because I want to
I get
like
where
it.
you're coming from. I get where you're coming from, guys. I think a lot of the I think the biggest problems with 8 and 9 are the pacing, because it goes from like 0 to well, it goes from like 0 to 60 and then 60 to 1 at some point, because you're just kind of like, you the flashback did feel out of pace. And I think that's what everybody's been saying. And I think that's, part of the problem. It's like you have this big moment and then you're going to do a flashback and then you have the epilogue of what's going on. So I can see that being an issue, and I can see that being really jarring for a lot of people. But then at the same time, like, I think like the end goal makes sense as to why they did it. But I'm kind of like, because I've been doing it, but now I really want to go back and do it again, because Will seems a little bit more obsessive than I think I've been, which is kind of hard to say. But I want to go back and really scrutinize it now, knowing what I know, because it's nice, because I feel like this is the first time with the MCU, like, we've gotten Easter eggs that they hoped would kind of pay off down the road. You had the Wakanada comment in Age of Ultron, and they're like, of course, the vibranium, and referencing Wakanda. And you had like little bits and pieces here and there that you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And Stephen Strange's name was mentioned in Winter Soldier. And those were wishful thinking, but this is the first time we've had something where they planned this, pun intended, all along to kind of subvert our perception of the show, to make us go back and watch it again. I think that's the fun part about it. So no, but I completely get it. I completely understand where you're coming from. And again, don't ever feel bad for having a negative thought about it, because I think that's where better discussion comes from, because we don't all think alike.
Right.
We might,
I mean, it's just like the first
yeah.
time I ever watched Memento, I was like, what in the heck is this? But after I watched it over and over again, I'm like, this is freaking genius. After you
I've never
understand what's
seen
going
Memento.
on. Oh my God. You never seen Memento?
I own it, but I've never watched it. It's still got the plastic wrap around it.
Oh wow.
Anyway, that's the vibe it gave me. I remember the first time watching that, and this is what Agatha All Along is giving me, those same types of vibes. So I'm never just gonna like, not gonna give it a try again. I'm gonna definitely do it because it gave me Memento vibes. So yeah, definitely gonna go back.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and do a round robin of like everyone's thoughts and any last comments that everyone wants to have. Juan, I'm not done with you because I put you on the spot, so you get to give your last thoughts as well if there's anything else you want to say. So let's go ahead and go clockwise. So Shay, go ahead and start us off again.
Oh, it's so funny. While you guys were talking, I thought about the first trial and like Lydia's face formed, and when she says "I love you guys," because she was going out of time. I just also just thought about that, like her saying that then, because that's the last thought she would have had before she went up to the swords, and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit thinking about that, but also just like. Oh, the show was so incredibly intricate and in such an amazing way that we haven't seen since WandaVision. Especially specifically just when it comes to the Maximos, Westview, whatever. But also the fact that Jennifer Kale and Monica Rambeau are the two survivors of their own different hexes who still have yet to reach their ultimate potential.
Yep.
And that just brings me so much peace. Like, it's just even as a Black woman in regards to witchery and being a witch and the connotations of that, and just watching the pride and subversion of even being a witch and what that means. Like they played a lot of stereotypes and talked about like you can be, culturally upset later. But truly going to the heart of what it actually means to be a witch spiritually and what it was always meant to be before it was I don't want to say converted. Let's go with colonized. It probably is not the right word, but it's close enough to the one I'm thinking of. Oh no, perverted. Like perverted into being evil, perverted into being something bad or gross or just weird. And at the heart of it, it's just about healing, protection, community. And even if Agatha is a covenantless witch for a short time, she was a part of a community. The way she should have been when her mother and her coven tried to take her powers away.
Okay. Yeah. Juan, anything you want to add to?
I just really wished like the last two episodes would do something more in the sense of like showing how Billy was really manipulating the road the whole time instead of just like going into the room and then seeing when I saw the Ouija board, I was like, oh my God, it was him the whole time. But if they showed like little flashes of like him actually manipulating it and how it came to where we're at now in the last two episodes, that probably would have made a little bit better for me, and then kind of close the gaps in between the Darkhold and, like I said before, the relationship between Agatha and Rio and all that jazz there. Maybe not really needed. Again, I'm not a writer, but they thought that this was the best way how to close it. But yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, Nico.
Boy, oh boy, where do I begin with this show? I've loved this show so much. It's one of my favorite Marvel shows. I've been a little bit behind the fandom because I've been like busy and watching episodes late. I had to make this episode just to say this has probably been my favorite show since WandaVision. I love the witchy aspect. I love being a little confused. I love when they put question marks in my face. And this journey was mystical, mystifying. It left me with so many questions. Not every question was answered, and some of the expectations were subverted, which I enjoyed because I'm always theorizing in my own brain. But I'm surprised. I would say that the show, it stuck the landing for me. I enjoyed the last 2 episodes personally, and the episode by episode, I went out of my way, despite going to different conventions and whatever, not making sure I'm at least weekly with the show and not falling too far behind. So, genuinely surprised how much I enjoyed the show. Keep it up, Marvel.
Tony Ann.
I really loved the show. I had high hopes for it when they announced it, when everyone was like, who asked for this? I was one of the ones that asked for this.
I was like, who asked for this? I'm so surprised.
Yeah, people were like, I remember I commented on Marvel's Instagram and someone was like, who's paying you to say this? I was like, no one. I'm just excited. But it makes me want to rewatch WandaVision and then Agatha All Along right after and just see everything. And it's also making me excited for future Marvel TV shows, Daredevil Born Again specifically, because this surpassed my expectations. And Daredevil is like very close to my heart. And I'm like, they did this so well. Like, I have hope that Daredevil Born Again is going to be really good too. So I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. David?
Kind of like what Will was saying before, I was really impressed with how they crafted the structure of the show, both with the little hints that it was the road was crafted by Billy, but also all of the random outbursts from blanking. All of the random outbursts in the time jumps. Lilia, thank you. I don't know why I blanked there. But how they crafted it and how they all came together in her episode was beautifully done. And I almost like one thing, I almost feel like some of the pacing with Agatha was almost like an Agatha character trait, because you get moments like when she's trying to swipe at the amulet, but then she says, I can't face him again. So you go from laughing to going like, oh man, now I feel bad. You know, so like all of that, and then plus they left it open, so like I am fully anticipating what comes next, and I love that.
Yeah. I will say, like, I had to stop and think about it. Like, I saw people ranking the Marvel Disney Plus shows recently, and I was trying to figure out where I would put this. And at some points, I was like, you know, I find that this was better than WandaVision in some areas, but then I was at the same time like, I feel like WandaVision stuck the landing a whole lot better at the end. But I think I understand the reason why they did it, because it's kind of like with the Spider-Man series in the MCU. I wasn't a big fan of Far From Home as I was, let's say, Homecoming and No Way Home, until I saw No Way Home and I realized like how it was a trilogy of a story, and it made more sense. And I think Wanda is, I'm sorry, Agatha All Along is only going to age better as we get like I think one of the things like there's so many questions. I think Juan's gonna love Agatha All Along if we actually get those questions answered down the road. Like it's like, oh, it's part of the progression, because it's like you sit and you think you sit in like a Marvel movie now and you watch and you see an end credit scene and you're like, am I gonna get a payoff for that? Is that actually going to happen now? Because what phases 1 through 3 did was they kind of led into the next thing, and at least Agatha All Along leads into Vision Quest or whatever Wiccan's doing next, and we're most likely going to see them again. But like I even sitting here, like when we were talking, like I realized, like, you know, how many times I should have known that Billy was involved on the road. Like even the fact that he was the one that basically found all of the tasks. Like he found the note, he found the record, he found the Ouija board, he's reading the instructions. Like how many times did we have to see these things and not know that this is what was happening? It's like, come on. So it makes me feel good that we're doing this. And I will say, I think the reason why I've loved this show so much is because it really got me into the Halloween season. It got me into the Halloween spirit. And it did something that, as much as I loved Werewolf by Night, didn't do it for me. And I enjoyed that special presentation, but like just getting into it, and the music was a bop, and like the aesthetics and like just the way they all interacted. And I mean, if anything, even if the show lost the landing, the fact that I know Patti LuPone now and know more about her makes my life worthwhile. What? What?
No,
you're muted. I can't hear you.
Time out. What do you mean? This is how you discover Patti LuPone.
Like I've known stuff about her, but I didn't know about her off of the stage. Like I'd seen stuff that she's been in. Like I've seen things and I'm like, okay, that's cool. She's a really good actress and she's a really good singer. But the diva that she is outside of a stage is something I didn't know about. And I love
you must have
it.
not been on TikTok during the COVID situation because those clips were rampant.
I wasn't on that side of TikTok. That's all it was.
I had no idea who she was before this. So I'm just saying.
No, oh my God.
And I'm just to say because I pretty much said it
now you know,
every single. I've said this every single episode I think that we've been on. Just watch Hot Ones with her and Aubrey Plaza. It is
that.
Oh, I can't stop. It's between watching clips of that on TikTok and watching that the Savan Gap commercial. I don't know why those are the two things that like occupy my time on TikTok now, but absolutely like I could if I see Patti LuPone on my screen, I'm watching all of whatever it is. Even the dude that like lip syncs to her and sounds like her a little bit when he's doing this stuff, like. I'll even watch those. It's a bad habit, but regardless, but yeah, I'm really hoping like,
I think I know why the last two episodes really didn't hit hard for me is because they killed off my girl Patty. Like they killed her off. She was basically my favorite character. She's my favorite character, and then after she left, because I was pulling for her, my theory that she was going to come back because we didn't see a body, all the stuff that she was doing and all the stuff, like, I think that's what just upset me that I didn't like the last two episodes. So now that I know she's not coming back and everything, I'm going to give it a watch and it's going to be, we're going to come back next time when we do Vision Quest. I'm going to be like, yeah, you guys were right.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
Yeah. Like in the first trial when they're all like, all their faces are blown up and she's like, I'm not hating this. I loved every little moment with her because I feel like, and that's the thing, like you could see her and Jennifer. Like I would watch a Buddy Witch show between Jennifer and Lilia. Like I feel like those two would vibe on such a level, and the fact that like she, even the moment when she first saw her, and the first thing she says is High Priestess. Like there is maybe we could get a prequel. Like we could get something back. Like what the connection with all of them is, because there's a backstory with those two, and I know it, and I would be okay with having that. I would accept that. But yeah, anybody want to say one last thing before we get off? I'm gonna do my closing spiel. So let's do this. If you guys are watching this, first of all, thank you so much for watching this. Even if you're watching after the fact, for those of you who listen, I'm just gonna say this: on average, every episode has been listened to at least by 200 people, if not more. We've got a number of subscribers. We've had over 1,400 downloads on this podcast, this show alone, and I know it's gonna get bigger after this episode. We're not going to stop doing this kind of stuff. I haven't talked to anybody that's on this panel right now or those that have gotten off, but I'm definitely planning on doing more. I feel like since we're going to get close to Daredevil Born Again, like I really feel like we could possibly go back to the Daredevil Netflix shows and talk about those, but I really think like Hawkeye and Echo would be definitely good segues to get into, especially with Kingpin. And maybe a little sprinkling of some She-Hulk with some Matt Murdock in there. But regardless, I want to
Miss Marvel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We gotta do all of it. We really need to give it the respect that it's due. So definitely those are
the trailer.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He's like if we get Kamala Khan's parents in multiple stuff, I'm good with that. They're so much fun.
That whole family was
the whole family.
No, because like I think like what I like about Kamala and her family is because she is they are people of color. The one thing people of color cannot do is hide your identity. I'm sorry. Our parents are too involved. Like they're too involved. They won't have to know this information. Like
no, absolutely. Yeah, so maybe what I'll do is, for those of you who are on this panel and you want to come back, we can figure out what we want to do next. I really do feel like we definitely need to lean toward Daredevil, because I know that's coming out in March and we have plenty of time to cover stuff.
Oh,
so
I'll be
if
there.
You guys are
Anything
game.
with Matt
You
Murdock.
absolutely.
You guys
We can work on a different
of me. I can talk about. I have a picture of me and Charlie Cox right in front of me. That is my man.
Honestly, I could spend a whole hour talking about Daredevil season 1, episode 4.
Literally.
Just that.
Respect. You got it framed. Okay.
That.
And my husband looks at it every day. I'm like,
I mean, don't let your husband keep you from the love of your life. Okay.
He knows the order of things around here. Okay.
All right. With that said, let's go ahead and go. We're going to go back around the circle real quick. Tell us where we can find you guys. I know I've already got you guys in the show notes. I think everybody except for Nico, I'm going to have to add you to the show notes. But Shay, go ahead and sound us off here. Where can we find you?
You guys can find me at A Spoonful of Shay on TikTok and on Instagram. Also, I am hosting a private screening of Wicked if you live in Los Angeles. You can find the link to that on my in my bio on my profile. Please come out November 23rd. Show out. Wear the green and pink proudly.
All right. Juan.
Yo, I'm Juan Reads Comics. You can find me on TikTok, and I'm working on other social medias as well. But make sure you check out my guys, Paneloids, at Paneloids Comic Books and More.
Awesome. David?
I am Xanatos1138 on all socials, mostly TikTok. Come check me out for Marvel, Star Wars, Doctor Who, all sorts of stuff.
Tony Ann.
I am Scarlet Bruja on TikTok, and then on Instagram, it's the Scarlet Bruja. I post about Marvel, Star Wars, anime, basically any fandom I can get my hands on, I'm involved in. So if you like that, just come on by.
And Nico.
All right, we're Nico Skywalker on TikTok, Skywalking Nico on Instagram. We talk about anime, Star Wars, and most importantly to me, Doctor Who. You love some Doctor Who. Little cosplay, not a little cosplay, a lot of cosplay. That's
not
me.
A little cosplay. Yeah. And be sure to check out Sarah Movies and Tea. She had to leave earlier. You can find her Movies and Tea everywhere. And then also Will Wilkins, that Will Wilkins. Also, you can see him on his show on Netheads on the Smodcast Network, where you might see me jump on every once in a while when Trent's not busy, or when Trent is busy. I guess that's the way it goes. But also just be sure to follow Fanbox. It's Fanbox at you can follow it at itsfanbox.com or at itsfanbox anywhere you go on social media. And then also do not forget about the Nerd Initiative, nerdinitiative.com for all of your comic book, movie, television, wrestling, pretty much, and toy. Let's not forget toys, especially with Juan. Toy reviews. And be sure, because I also think that there's been some giveaways with like the Big Bad Toy Store. So be sure to check out Nerd Initiative with those things. Listen, I love my Nerd Initiative. I love the guys there. Everybody's been doing a great job. Been love doing this here at Fanbox, and I appreciate you guys. And if you're listening, you podcasters, and you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, what's wrong with you? There's enough of you guys that are listening to this. You can help us get the numbers. And be sure you're following. And of course, at some point, itsfanbox.com is not going to direct you to our YouTube channel anymore. It will be leading to a website in the coming future. So be sure to check that out. And we will keep you posted on what's going on, because we will be doing more of this down the road. Not down the witch's road, but down the MCU road. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Panel of hosts, thank you so much again. Let's go ahead and say goodbye, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.